New York is now banning Texas and their migrant buses in an attack on migrants that some people say is very, very racist. Guys like Mayor Adams from New York, they said that their town was a sanctuary town. Come on in. There's all signs all over the place of coexist, you know, and all the bumper stickers. And they say now they don't want the migrants in their city and they're going to charge the bus drivers with misdemeanors if they bring them in. Here's the story from Viral News NYC. Says the mayor just announced a new executive order that we're going to read through. I got it pulled up here. This is what it looks like. Executive order number 538, which I think is probably illegal. We're going to read it together and see. But he is issuing this saying that if a busload of migrants comes across, what kind of migrants? That's a racist thing. If the buses don't announce that they're coming, they're going to be charged with a Class B misdemeanor that can result in jail time, and they'll just seize the bus so that you can't get the bus back. Now, obviously, the alternative is to just put them on airplanes. Put them on airplanes and just send them right into New York City. But I would just keep the buses ongoing if you could. Now, here is what New York Mayor Adams, in a very racist, bigoted, xenophobic attack on migrants, is saying.
Just last week, 14 buses arrived in a single day.
Wow, 14 buses. How many people is that? 14 times what? Like maybe 100 or 50? That's not that many people. 700 people, maybe 1,400 people. Okay, we have 10,000 plus coming across a day, my man.
The most ever recorded by officials at our intake center. We are in close contact with other cities and state leaders across the country who are seeing a similar increase in arrivals. To better coordinate these arrivals today, I'm announcing an executive order requiring charter buses transporting migrants, those often contracted by the state of Texas, to provide 32-hour notice in advance of their arrival into New York City. To make sure we have sufficient staffing, we are also requiring that these charter buses arrive only between 8:30 a.m. and 12 p.m., Monday through Friday, and to only drop off passengers at one spot unless directed otherwise by New York City Emergency Management.
Okay, we have a freedom to move in this country and freedoms to travel and stuff like that. So he's being very careful here about how he is handling this. Like it's kind of like a time, place, and manner restriction, right? Rather than a full travel prohibition is what he's trying to do here. So I'm sure his lawyers just had a field day with this. We're going to go through in a minute and see what we can glean from it. But here's the rest of the mayor.
Failure to do so result in a Class B misdemeanor.
Well, this is curious, and I want to see what authority that is that he has to create new laws out of whole cloth. He's not the state legislature, okay? This is an executive order. He's just passing new criminal statutes via executive fiat? What?
Possible fines, lawsuit, and even buses being impounded. We cannot allow buses with people needing our help to arrive without warning at any hour of day and night.
You mean like at the border where they come across all day and all night without any announcements?
This not only prevents us from providing assistance in an orderly way, it puts those who have already suffered so much.
All right, so that's the mayor from New York, and we're going to read through that full executive order to see what type of legal authority he is claiming. But he's not alone. The other woke mayors who said that they've got sanctuary cities, like in places like Chicago, says that the city service, every city service in Chicago, where they're also getting some migrants, is on the verge of collapse thanks to the illegals. Incredible. So you got to just keep sending them, right? If this is a problem for Texas and Arizona and California, where people are coming across in droves every day, a couple bus loads shattering their city services in Chicago, which is a big city, much bigger than anything we've got here in Arizona. What is it doing to Arizona? Here's the mayor.
In Chicago, anywhere else in the country, the public good is already stressed, whether it's our transportation system, our healthcare system, our education system. All of these systems are already stretched to meet the demands of families who have been here. Over the past 7 months, it's been an incredible strain on every aspect of city services in Chicago, anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, that's true. Here's more of the mayor of Chicago who says now the entire country is now at stake. He showed up on CNN. He says, we have 15,000 people living in shelters, temporary shelters, and 4,500 children in our public school system provided healthcare. Now, this is strange because these people are sounding like racists. I mean, they called us all racist for saying, can we just have a border that works? Can we just have a country that is defined by its borders? Or maybe it's not a country at all. Maybe it's just like a landmass that everybody can just come and go to. Or not. Like, is it a nation state or not? They said we were racist and bigots for just wanting a functional country, but now they're recognizing it's a problem. Go figure.
The technical support that we
we receive from the federal government. We appreciate that. Work authorization to put people on a pathway to sustainability. I certainly appreciate that. And without real significant investment from our federal government, it won't just be the city of Chicago that won't be able to maintain this mission. It's the entire country that is now at stake.
Yeah,
but in no way.
Welcome aboard, man. Welcome aboard. We're glad to have you. You're right. The entire country is at stake. So remember when you go when you go to the voting booth in November, okay? Vote Trump, vote Republican, because your party is enabling this from the very top.
What the state of Texas is doing is helping the cause. As much as we recognize that there are challenges, significant challenges at the border, and we do need real substantive immigration reform and policies that allow us to have a structure and a pathway to citizenship. But again, sending buses all over the state of Illinois and all over the country is reckless and quite frankly is dangerous.
Nope, sorry. No, there's nowhere to go. Texas doesn't have room. Arizona doesn't have room. California doesn't have room. You guys said that you had room. You guys said you were a sanctuary city and it's all appropriate. And so we're just sending tiny buses, okay? Just very small amounts of the actual group of people who are coming across, and it's breaking everything for you. So imagine how it feels to be here and to be experiencing this our entire lives, all right? Make sure you vote Trump, Mr. Mayor. So here is the executive order from the city of New York, Mayor Adams banning migrants in a racist attack. He posted this emergency executive order. You're kidding. Now, whereas they say over the past several months, thousands of asylum seekers have been arriving in New York without any immediate plans for shelter, that's your job to help them. Now, the city now faces an unprecedented humanitarian crisis that requires us to take extraordinary measures to meet the immediate needs of asylum seekers while continuing to serve tens of thousands of people who are currently already homeless. And you never let a crisis go to waste. So let's also see what else power they gobble up. Now, additional reasons for requiring the measures are already set forth in another emergency order. The state of emergency is based on the arrival of thousands of individuals seeking asylum, first declared, still remaining in effect. Now, other states and municipalities have sent charter buses to the city containing passengers who such entities know or should know to be individuals who arrived from the United States from other nations since March. Okay, so Texas is sending buses. Whereas great many passengers on the buses have sought emergency shelter and immediate services. Whereas the entities sending the charter buses, like Texas, know or should know that they're likely to seek emergency shelter and other immediate services from the city. That we know. You said you're a sanctuary city. Come on in. Dozens of charter buses arrive in the city each week. Okay, so a dozen, let's say there's 100 people on each bus, that's 1,200 people a week. Okay, Texas and Arizona, we're talking about 10,000 plus a day. And such charter buses often arrive at night or over the weekend when the city's asylum seeker operations have the least staff available to receive the new arrivals. Okay, so it's a timing thing. Now, the charter buses often drop off passengers at random locations in the city, and so it interferes and hampers our ability to meet their needs. And the entities sending the charter buses often fail to provide notice or any advance notice of the buses being arrived, like household size and language needs. Okay, well, it's true. You'd ordinarily think it's just Spanish, but it's not. It's a bunch of other language like Chinese, Mandarin, like, what they speak in Senegal, and other potential needs of passengers. And the arrival of such charter buses containing large numbers of individuals who have arrived in the United States from other nations are likely to seek, they're going to disembark, and they're not going to know anything about the city. And so the mayor says, now, therefore, pursuant to my new powers under New York executive law, I hereby declare the following. We have 5 more days. He says, I hereby direct that an operator of any charter bus who knows or reasonably should know, which sounds like a crime, by the way, that's like crime language, that they're going to be transporting, section 2, who likely seek, there shall be a presumption that the passengers who have arrived in the United States, he's saying you must comply. The determination that an operator knows or reasonably should know will be based on the totality of the circumstances. So this is a new crime like statute right now. I don't think this is referenced anywhere. This is like a new criminal law, okay, based on the totality of the circumstances, including but not limited to whether the fares for the passengers were paid by a third party like Texas, the identity of such a third party, which would be like Texas or whoever's loading the buses, any conditions or the transportation imposed on the bus driver, whether the passengers' travel arrangements included return travel and all the things, whether the bus is coming from the state where a substantial number of charter buses have come in the last 60 days, any other indicia as well. So I would say this is just unconstitutional on its face because this is a statute. The legislature of New York passed this, or did he just create a new crime out of thin air? Notification: any such operator must provide notice of the anticipated date and time of the arrival, at least 32 hours in advance. Information that's required: the manifest shall include the number of passengers who arrived, operator information that's relevant, the number of passengers and single-family adults, the number of passengers who were children, the bus driver's name. Okay, so they're going to freak out the bus drivers. This is really to attack the bus drivers, so the bus drivers say, I'm not going to go in to New York. A description of the charter bus and other things. So timing of the drop-offs: you can only come in between 8:30 and 12. Okay, so should we pass that message along to the illegal immigrants coming across at the border? Can you guys only come in between these hours? It's very inconvenient to us when you break our laws and enter our country claiming fake asylum. Drop off during the holidays is also prohibited. Okay, so you can't come in on New Year's Day, and Monday through Friday, no weekend drop-offs. Okay, we're not working on Saturdays and Sundays. We're government employees. And here, the location of the drop-off, you can only put them here. So it's like a time, place, and manner restriction. They're trying to cobble together some sort, freedom to travel is a recognized thing in this country. That's why you don't have states that say you're banned. Like if you vote Republican, like you can't come to California, right? Like that's obviously insane. We are a nation of states. And so just like we have, the Commerce Clause, which melds commerce, we've got freedoms to travel. And so they're not able to just say, sorry, no buses coming from Texas anymore. So they're going to try to time, place, and manner restriction this, okay? Manner is how they drop them off. Location is going to be the place, the time. And this is all from constitutional law that you find in First Amendment case law, where they say you've got free speech, but you don't have free speech to use a bullhorn at 2 a.m. outside of somebody's house, right? Because that is not what free speech is about. It's about being able to exercise your political opinion and speak, the truth to power. But they're using that same thing, okay? Time, place, and manner is how they're going to be trying to jumpstart this illegitimate executive order using constitutional authority that's already been articulated in the law. The loading zones are here between 8th and 9th Avenues in Manhattan. Another location, and I would imagine like this loading zone is going to be like a nightmare, right? You're never going to be able to drop anybody off. If you have a request for an exemption, well, you can request permission to drop them off. If that is approved, then you'll have to follow those terms. Section 3 says, for the purpose of this order, operator means anybody who's involved in the transportation of passengers and any person pursuant to New York executive law. Okay, so he can just create new rules out of whole cloth. He says, I have authority that if you violate my executive orders, that is a misdemeanor. And so they're going to want to charge the bus drivers with crimes, literally. Why? To disincentivize them from coming into New York. Now, this shall take effect immediately. It shall remain in effect for 5 days, which is like, what? And renewed for an additional period of 5 days while the state of emergency is in effect. Signed by Eric Adams, which his signature looks like an 8-year-old's, but okay. So that is the mayor of New York who is saying, we are now going to criminalize the legal transportation of migrants into their states. And they're going to criminalize the bus drivers, the hard working class bus drivers who are just trying to make a living and transport migrants to where they want to go. They say they want to go to New York because they've got resources there and families, right? There's already an anchor there of other migrants, like the communities there, and they're probably supporting each other. So send them to New York. Mayor Adams is going to try to stall this, right? Slow this down, try to bog this down with paperwork and other bureaucracy. But they are freaked, right? They're recognizing, yeah, this is kind of a problem, just like we've been saying for 40 years. Here is our friend Amuse. He made this point. He says, Biden is vacationing in the Virgin Islands, not doing much there, but he sent his 2 other morons from his cabinet, Blinken, who can't do anything except get us into new wars, and Mayorkas, who can't do anything except wreck our border. They're down in Mexico, and this is what it looked like down there. Can you guys please do something to help us? Our pathetic government. Can you please help us control our border? We can control our own border. Just shut it down. It's not complicated. Here is what they're reporting.
Only got the Mexican president to do it by threatening massive sanctions and economic sanctions. The Bidens won't do that.
And while you're talking, KT, I just want to put up on the screen here, this is brand new video we have just got. We talked about the meeting between Lopez Obrador. We talked about, Anthony Blinken and Secretary Mayorkas down there. And it's you. I've got about 15 seconds left for you, Robert, because the question really is, what do they expect Mexico to do?
Nothing.
If you don't seal off the border, nothing in the way of any benefit is going to happen.
That's a great point there, Trace.
Yeah, so in 15 seconds or less, KT is right, John Fahey is right, President Trump was right. The bottom line is you not only have insecurity all over the United States as a result of this, with 100,000 kids now dying of fentanyl that gets shipped with precursors from China, then made in Mexico and shipped up here to kill our kids. But you've also got a terrorism threat with sleeper cells that are very real here. So I think this is becoming very fast becoming one of the top issues in the country.
And we're going to talk about that coming up. Robert Charles, KT.
Absolutely, it is a top issue. I think people are Googling this even in blue states now. They're saying, what are we going to do about this problem? It is not good. Well, one person has some stones to talk about solutions in Congress. His name is Byron Donalds. And he says, this is the solution. House already passed H.R. 2, all right, which was the Secure the Border Act of 2023. The Senate sitting on that, not doing anything. They also passed H.R. 6138, reform immigration through biometrics. And he says, Byron, don't bring up Ukraine until our border is secured. Secure America first. It must be done. This is Byron.
House Republicans have a plan. We've had one for a very long time. I have a plan that adds to this. It creates actually an exit biometric system, something the 9/11 Commission recommended that we do post 9/11. The federal government still hasn't completed that work. But this is bigger than that. You have an administration, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and everybody else. They do not want to do the simple job of securing the border. And so now when you have a massive catastrophe which they created, now they're going down to Mexico to see what can be done. The answer is simple. To follow the House Republicans, H.R. 2. It's the plan. And let me be very clear. We've been telling this to the Democrats in the Senate and Joe Biden. Don't even talk to us about Ukraine until the southern border is secured. Secure America first, then we can have conversations about everything else. But this must be done. It simply cannot wait.
Absolutely. Shout out to Byron Donalds delivering a beautiful message. I couldn't agree more. If the country has everything in order, if we're like, gosh, we got no illegal immigration, our currency's good, we have great economic growth in this country, we've got, we're building a society and a culture that we all are excited to be a part of, and we say, is there any other good that we can do in this world? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. But that's not the state of the country, okay? The country's in total disarray, and now they're spending. Joe Biden and the Democrats just announced another package to Ukraine, the last one of the year, hundreds of millions of dollars going over there. Meanwhile, places like Chicago that Joe Biden has friends in, places like New York, filled with Democrats, even they're suffering under this leadership. And so we'll be here continuing to cover this, my friends. Thanks for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this. Thanks for checking out robertgovea.com, signing up for our daily newsletter, swinging by the shop there, grabbing some gear, and we'll be looking forward to seeing you back here on the next one.